也知道这个就拿来将就蛮多当的给书记，大概今年给别说那个做了本节上给做白书，知道这个就拿来将就蛮多当的给书记，大概今年给别说那个做了本节上给做白书。知道这个就拿来将就蛮多当的给书记，大概今年给别说那个做了本节上给做白书。别给就些没多长，让那些你的跟把的，上给心都给的不我心，若给难大心了就把就一旦过路让他们打了看的要打呀。Please adjust your sitting posture according to 7 meditative postures of Vairocana. And think, all sentient beings have been my mothers. All sentient beings have been my mothers not just once, but for numberless times. They are as kind as my mothers in this life. Even though all kind mothers and sentient beings want happiness and do not want even a small suffering. However, due to engaging wrongly in objects of adoptions and abandonment, they do not experience even a moment of happiness, but suffering. In our minds, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mothers and sentient beings, thinking, how nice it would be if all kind mothers and sentient beings were to have happiness and the causes of happiness that are virtues. May all kind mothers and sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. I will cause all kind mothers and sentient beings to have happiness and the causes of happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. Next, we generate compassion towards all kind mothers and sentient beings, thinking, how nice it would be if the bodies of all suffering mothers and sentient beings were free from all classes discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as physical pain, sickness, and problems caused by 4 elements. May the bodies of all suffering mothers and sentient beings be free from all classes discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the bodies of all suffering mothers and sentient beings from all classes discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if the minds of all suffering mothers and sentient beings were free from all classes discordant with accomplishing virtue, such as fear, and coarse and subtle negative discursive thoughts. May the minds of all suffering mothers and sentient beings be free from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the minds of all suffering mothers and sentient beings from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if the speech of all suffering mothers and sentient beings, free from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue, all coarse and subtle negative speech, such as telling lies. May the speech of all suffering mothers and sentient beings be free from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. I will free the speech of all suffering mothers and sentient beings from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so. How nice it would be if the three doors of all suffering mothers and sentient beings were free from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. May the three doors of all suffering mothers and sentient beings be free from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. I'll free the three doors of all suffering mothers and sentient beings from all classes, discordant with accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
friendship
How nice it would be if all sentient beings were free from all suffering and the causes of suffering that are non-virtues. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and all causes of suffering. I will free all sentient beings from all suffering and the causes of suffering. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
is the one day thinking to the tongue, which is called the super water doing Kusula, Kumiana, Garana, get that as a Yata, some easy to run with the body. And the Busula, Yata, this is the 20% converted to Chile, my show, this changes similar speech.
Next, we generate bodhicitta. First, we ask ourselves, who should take on the responsibility to free all other sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of low realms? I should take on the responsibility to free all other sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of low realms. Even though I should take on the responsibility, I do not have the abilities to do so now. Who has such abilities? Those who have achieved the perfectly complete enlightenment have the abilities to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the precious state of enlightenment. Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind, the aspiring conventional bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. These transform into a perfect, complete mundis at one's heart. And the ultimate bodhicitta, that is one's mind becoming in one taste with emptiness, the lack of inherent existence, that transform into a white five-pronged vajra on top of the mundis. Next, we meditate on emptiness for a short while. That I exists neither intrinsically one with, nor intrinsically different from the aggregates. Thus, I am empty of inherent existence. As I always say, whenever we engage in the roots of virtue through our three doors, it is important to conjoin it with the practice of six perfections. Thus, to conjoin these roots of virtue with the practice of six perfections. The first one is generosity. The nature of generosity is the intentions of giving. These roots of virtue of listening to, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma is for the sake of purifying the sufferings of all sentient beings and for achieving the happiness of all sentient beings. Next is morality. The nature of morality is a mind of abandonment. When I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on the Dharma, I will I will properly abandon my physical and verbal negativities so that they do not manifest. Next is patience. The nature of patience is an undisturbed mind. So when I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on the Dharma, I will patiently accepting all physical and mental shifts.
That is the result of the world, except for the generation was for Nashi. When the South was a Jimala Gawata, I'm telling you, the South was a Jimmy Gentleman's point. He was a Katagazadi, that's the English question in the English.
Next is joyous effort. Joyous effort is a mind that takes delight in virtue. I will delightfully engage in listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma.
That is the foundation was the same thing. The foundation was a machine. How can you suppose the Jimmy was the same? But think the color 9 number of the Guru. You on the Buddha, say the game, but see, you don't need to go to Shumbaina, as I was Jimmy. That because this audition was not.
Next is concentration. Concentration is mind that single-pointedly focus on any virtuous object. I will single-pointedly focus my mind on the virtuous object without being influenced by discursive thoughts and distractions.
That is the share of Sera, the share of the share of the meditation, particularly also my machine. And yes, I was a con, she would see that kind of shit all over. Yeah, was shit to me, Juliana. That day was a better share of the
The last one is wisdom. Wisdom is an awareness that thoroughly distinguishes phenomena. I will properly and correctly understand the words and the meanings of the Dharma that I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on.
That age is such a 20th century about the age of the Kanda, testing in the trading genetics of the
Set a good motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For that, I will listen to the holy teachings and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings.
Yeah, and you. This is
So we are on the last outline, which is 7 presentations of grounds and paths.
That's all the leadership of the point of the song of the mention. That's the point of my field. That point of the point of my face that
This has 2 divisions, objects of abandonment and actual presentations of grounds and paths. The first one I'm going to talk about is objects of abandonment.
that point of the content, the shooting of the rock. That point of the brother and the shooting. I just can't see that dinner of the rock. Maybe the shooting of the more was making my chair.
So when we talk about objects of abandonment, whenever objects of abandonment it is included in either effective obscurations or obscurations to omniscience.
What I'm going to conduct. Gandhi Tara, 7 that you were. Gandhi 7 that you were obviously. We conduct. Asha, your team was also 7 that you were. To talk about the party with the message. That Kanda was in this or that's all. Got about party to this much chart is sure.
They proceed as afflictive obscurations, the coarse and subtle self-graspings, together with their seeds, as well as attachment and so forth, together with their seeds that arise due to the power of self-grasping. These are obscurations that mainly interfere with the attainment of liberation. So afflictive obscurations mainly obscures one from attaining liberation.
뇌디서 타바토가 받지 지바에 받았던 단조와라 그런데 상담을 대다 지바지죠. 이것도 받지 지바에 예시고. 그러다 뇌디 야다가 가가 되고 내가 뇌디들 아 그다 이거를 타바토가 받지 지바에 받게 되고. 받게 해야지. 그 런치 벌써부터 뇌디서에 왜냐면 때 가가 예. 그다가 도저히 뭐 뇌디 이거를 치기 다니는 뇌디 너무 많아. 뇌디 같아요. 근데 가지고 추리 단지다 간사를 단지 가능이나 정말 유주시. 정말 이제도 그것도 같이 지금 지금.
추리 당진 기보로 와라 간비 봐.
어런지까지 나도 이름도 단조하는 추리 단지 얘기인데 간사를 단지 얘기네.
추리 당지단 세계
당지가 유주시. 어떻게 나디다 간사를 단지 싸베다 제가 와서 거기 가서 싸베다 지만 정말 유주시.
So when afflictive obscurations being the obstacles that obscures one from attaining liberations, this is commonly asserted by Prasangika and by Svatantika as well. However, the modes of asserting the afflictive obscurations is different. The Prasangika and Svatantika, their modes of asserting afflictive obscurations is different. So for Svatantika Madhyamaka, they assert self-graspings of person as afflictive obscurations. And self-graspings of person, Svatantika asserted it as obscurations to omniscience. However, for Prasangika Madhyamaka, they assert both his self-graspings of person and self-graspings of phenomena as afflictive obscurations, as it says in the text. Gross and subtle self-graspings together with their seeds, as well as attachment and so forth, together with their seeds that arise due to the power of self-grasping.
또 타바타바가 받을 지지대 이거는 벌써 제일와 또 이제 타바 또서 많이 타바타바 어머니는 지금 뭐와 뭐 타바타 지지대 이거 있어 그처럼
So if you were to summarize the definitions of afflictive obscurations, then it can be as short as this. Being an obscuration mainly obscures the attainment of liberation, or mainly interfere with the attainment of liberation. I repeat, the definitions of afflictive obscurations is being an obscuration. It mainly interfere with the attainment of liberation, or it mainly obscures the attainment of liberation. So the definitions of afflictive obscuration can be as short as this. So that they proceed as obscurations to omniscience, the latencies of grasping at true existence, the whole factors of mistaken dualistic appearance that arise due to their power. So their power refers to the latencies of grasping at true existence. So these are obscurations that mainly interfere with the attainment of an exalted knower of all. So just like the definitions of afflictive obscurations, the definitions of obscurations to omniscience can be shortened to this as well. Being an obscuration, it mainly obscures, it mainly interfere with the attainment of an exalted knower of all. I repeat, the definitions of obscurations to omniscience is being an obscuration, it mainly interferes with the attainment of an exalted knower of all, or it mainly obscures the attainment of omniscience. 사람기 남샹구이나 밑방대기 방대기做的 kewa 요리下的一定也让他就是先把了也让他就是
也让他肯定是不关系做kewa有时候你让我去关系做的还是呢당진이 사벨을 제가 취기 당진에 통과를 당진 이니 사벨을 제가 보시고 취기했어.
이 사람이 이거 시바 데 레스 사소한 이죠. 그래서나디 가서 디 공지 다와디요라. 공지 다와네 디 도메기 개발요 말이스. 반사기 그래서 태순기 반사 디
시아도 뭐데
사람이
특별성이 뭐만 중요지를
그래서 이니지 잠깐 강보디
이제 관심도죠 이거 시비지 특별성이 나서가 지금 공식 따와나 우리 제가 요리 원들이다 우리 제가 요리 제가 요 말이에요 제가 매일 제가서 나서는 다음에다 니가 공식 또니가 지정을 해서 간다 보시다 내 집에 이미 주제가서는 가샤를 제거해요. 이 집에 주제대 가샤를 제거해요. 맞다 데려와. 마사 그 다음 공지做시대 가샤 와. 이 다음에 공지 做시대 가샤 이것도 뭐라고 지금 공지 따와는 와요. 맞다. 집에 맞으니까.
So there is actual presentations of grounds and paths. There is no difference in terms of superiority among the views that are the objects of meditations of persons of the three vehicles, because all three are alike in taking as their main objects of meditation subtle selflessness of persons and subtle selflessness of phenomena. So why there is no difference in terms of superiority among their views that are the objects of meditations, because there is no difference in their objects of meditations. So because of this reason, then there is no difference in terms of superiority among the views. 이 금생 디 왕기로 가자라 키와 요마 maybe 왕기 이니디 따와 이니디 도밍 키와 요마
해봐서 가자 뭐지 가사가 집에는 뭐지 따와라 도밍 키와 요마 이메지 쳐봐 메시와데 가사 그 다음에 뭐지做시나 가사랑 그 친구 그 뭐바디 뭐지 做시노래
가사랑 이 친구
또 좋아 또 친구 가사 빈바디 좋아 다 취지 다음에 뭐지 做시노래 된다 집안에 그 부모들은
가샤에 로아 잡아라. 랑기 체이 줘봐 다데
가샤를 쳐봐요. 말이 뒤주세요. 동시 가가로와. 동시 가가로와.
랑기 체이 줘봐 동화당. 이제 최 풍보소. 이제 데모 줘봐.
그래 집어라고.
어디니가 집어라.
다음에 보시도시 가자 데모 주면 통화래. 가자랑 친구 통화래. 뭐 다음에 보시도시 다 풍보라서 봐. 데모 통화다. 하고 친구 통화래. 근데 가자를 집어는 이제
Yeah, so there is no difference in terms of superiority among the views because there is no difference in their object of negations. For example, if you were to meditate in relation to person, the person's emptiness of being the person's emptiness of being established by way of his own character is by way of his own character, or the person's emptiness of true existence, or the phenomena's emptiness of established by way of its own character, or the phenomena's emptiness of true existence. So in terms of negations, there is no difference. So because of this reason, there is no difference in terms of superiority among the groups. So even though there is no difference in terms of superiority among the views, and there is no difference in terms of object of negations, however, in terms of qualified basis, so in terms of qualified basis, in other words, basis of emptiness. So in terms of base of emptiness, then it is easier to ascertain on the basis of person. So in terms of qualified basis, or in terms of basis of emptiness, then it is easier to ascertain the selflessness on the basis of person. And it is more difficult to ascertain the selflessness on the basis of phenomena. So that is the general explanations in terms of there is no difference. There is a general explanations with regard to which one is easier to be ascertained, on the basis of person or upon the basis of phenomenon. So there is a general explanation. So to ascertain the selflessness on the basis of person is easier than realize the selflessness on the basis of phenomena. So again, another general explanations regarding the stages of generating the two self-graspings. So in terms of self-grasping, which one is generated first? So the first one to generate is self-graspings of phenomena, then followed by the self-graspings of person. Again, this is a general explanations on the stages by which these two self-graspings are generated. So this is also mentioned in Lamrim Stages of the Path to Enlightenment by Rinpoche as well. So when we study the special insight, then we will come to this point as well. There are differences with regard to their main objects of abandonment, because curious and solitary realizers take as their main objects of abandonment the two self-graspings together with their seeds. So why do curious and solitary realizers take the two self-graspings together with their seeds as their main objects of abandonment? Is because it mainly obscures them from achieving liberations. Therefore, curious and solitary realizers take the two self-graspings together with their seeds as their main objects of abandonment. So because of the reason that afflictive obscurations mainly obscures them from achieving liberations.
上这呢就当今是把下的，人家把下关系这个也是文化之类。他上次呢就把下关系做的，当时把下的体制啊，我的体制去有吧，体制的团体这么多了，我把它解决的也是那有吧。他上次呢就大家做的团体这么多吧，他是就把三级就过把的吧，他就基本他把它多把它解决多，但是心里把的吧，
我叫做
团体这么多吧。而且这么多，推些多，这方面这方向多，西的方向多，这个也是，是吧？他想这个得把这不是这个也是，把这西的是吧？
好像是的。Yeah, and bodhisattvas take as their main objects of abandonment the latencies of self-grasping. So bodhisattvas take the latencies of self-grasping as their main objects of abandonment. So for bodhisattvas, their main objects of achievement is to attain omniscience, right? So that which mainly obscures them from achieving omniscience is obscurations to omniscience. Therefore, bodhisattvas take the latencies of self-grasping. Latencies of self-grasping is the obscurations of omniscience as their main objects of abandonment.
我的，当年两地的车去过的，当年了就两小的就是，当时上面的这个光的车牌这边，你的他们有的是，比如说年了就两小的去，当地的上面的这个光的车牌这边，的他们两的，如果说这两地把人嘛，两地的车牌修的话，那两地把我们这样子，我就把他们的车牌你给修的话，
对的，
我就把他们的车牌的修。那就那么我看就，两小的街头把这些说的，两小的街头，哇，那这个这就两小的地方，你让这就两小的就是当时上面的这个方面，啊，两点是呢，一个是呢，等到几个地方，我定是呢，几个多，两小的几个就对你的，他们两点的也是，或者他尽量的他们两点七八的两小的街头七八些，这个很久多，两小的街头七八些。两小的街头七八小的那个，也都给弄完的街嘛，就这个是这样。两小个是电脑，你把这个弄完里面，街头个是弄完的里面的话，
电脑有没？
电脑有没？电脑有。那两小的当地上面的这个方面，七八的这个那个他们两点的意思，我两点。第一个这的，第一个是电脑的，哇，电脑有，两小的就行了。
街頭比較屬於那啲電腦有嘅。So nirvana without remainder is a suchness distinguished by the abandonment of the two self-graspings and their seeds in the continuums of hearer and solitary realizer fold destroyers in meditative equipoise. And the next one they are going to talk about is nirvana with remainder. So the difference between nirvana without remainder and nirvana with remainder for Prasangika is the difference whether there is a true appearance or not. The appearance of the appearance of true existence. So whether there is an appearance of true existence or not. So for the continuums of hearers and solitary realizers, fold destroyers or arhats, in meditative equipoise, there is no appearance of true existence. So then on nirvana with remainder, so if referred to in the post-meditation state, which I will talk about later. So then in post-meditation state, then we have the appearance of true existence. So the difference between nirvana without remainder and nirvana with remainder depends on whether there is an appearance of true existence or not. If there is true existence of appearance of true existence, then is in the post-meditation state. Then if there is no appearance of true existence in the meditative equipoise, then there is no appearance of true existence. In the post-meditation state, there is appearance of true existence. So nirvana without remainder is a suchness. So it can be suchness, it can be nirvana, it can be true cessations. So suchness, true cessations, and true and nirvana. Nirvana, suchness, true cessations. So these are mutually inclusive. So nirvana without remainder is a suchness distinguished by the abandonment of the two self-graspings and their seats in the continuums of hearer and solitary realizer full destroyers in meditative equipoise. So meditative equipoise, nirvana without remainder. And nirvana with remainder is the same kind of suchness in the continuums of hearer and solitary realizer full destroyers in the post-meditation state. So nirvana with remainders are those hearers and solitary realizers full destroyers. So in the post-meditation state, their continuums as the appearance of true existence. Holders of the Mahayana lineage who are definite in the lineage from the very first abandon afflictive obscurations and attain the eighth ground simultaneously. And they abandon obscurations of omniscience and attain the four bodies simultaneously. So, so those who definite in the lineage, as it says here, who are definite in the lineage. So the purpose of saying those who are definite in the lineage refers to those beings who do not enter the path of, do not enter the Hinayana path. Straight away, they enter the Mahayana path. So those who are definite in the lineage refers to those practitioners who straight away enter Mahayana path without entering the Hinayana path first. So from then abandonment. So those practitioners. So when they achieve the eighth ground, at the same time they abandon their afflictive obscurations. So as it says here, abandon afflictive obscurations and attain the eighth ground simultaneously. So they attain the eighth ground and they abandon afflictive obscurations at the same time. And they abandon obscurations to omniscience and attain the four bodies simultaneously. So when attain the four bodies also means that they achieve the state of enlightenment, and the abandonment of obscurations to omniscience are simultaneous.
재미지 원치는 재미도 통화하는 데 얘기 공부하는 거 좋아.
공람네.
재미 통화네. 재미 통화는다 얘기 끝나게 하는 거 좋아.
윤디 군다.
끝나게 와.
공약 고조.
얘기 끝나 봐야 되는 거 좋아. 재미 통화네. 에 고나야 토리까라다 얘기 된지. 얘기 소리야 보니. 에 재미지 고나니 얘기 된지. 근데 뭐지네. 얘기 된지까지 공부하는 얘기까지 공부하는 다 재미다 좀 더. 재미다. 재미지 원치는 와.
재미기 자주마다 밀로람
나 재미지
중요하고.
더 받아. 그걸로 더 그냥 와.
윤디 대신 그럼 이거 수 윤디 생계에 공약 고조하러. So here he talks about abandon afflictive obscurations and obscurations to omniscience, right? So the way of abandoning these two obscurations is different. Is different for Hinayana and it's different for Mahayana. So Hinayana way of asserting the abandonment of obscurations is when a person first entered the Hinayana path, they first entered the path of accumulation, then followed by the path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, and path of normal learning. So this is exactly the presentations of these five paths. The stages of these five paths are exactly the same as the Mahayana. So when a person enters the Hinayana path, when he reaches the path of seeing, he starts to abandon afflictive obscurations. So afflictive obscurations can be divided into two, imputed and innate. So when they reach the path of seeing, they start to abandon the imputed afflictive obscurations. Then when they reach the path of meditation, they start to abandon the innate afflictive obscurations. Whenever the innate afflictive obscurations is abandoned, at that time, they will achieve the Hinayana Arhat. They will achieve the state of Hinayana Arhat. At the same time, they achieve the Hinayana path of no more learning. So I repeat, when they first enter the Hinayana path, they also go through the path of accumulation, of preparation. So when they reach path of seeing, so that is the time when they will start to abandon imputed afflictive obscurations. When they reach path of meditation, they start to abandon innate afflictive obscurations. So whenever the innate afflictive obscurations are abandoned, they will achieve they achieve the Hinayana Arhatship, and at the same time they achieve the Hinayana path of no more learning. So in short, in Hinayana, abandonment of afflictive obscurations and the achievements of Arhat are simultaneous. Achievement of Arhatship are simultaneous.
But one you do that go getting it is money. This is a goal and take other new. I think you get that for you. In true to show chili truth. What chili truth what? Or that chili truth show you. That the kind of everybody the kind of so much more than you need to change to go which in such a what mention. Such a what talk about that from a thing. Such a what talk about.
色幾不拖吧？
你是幫我聽啊？
色幾不拖吧？等原幫吧？
色幾不拖吧？你幫我聽。
知通諗而家水呢？講諗而家講諗而家水。
我那個你記得幫我做過話，我那個跟到係嘛
？So in terms of Mahayana path, here specifically refer to those who are definite in the lineage. So definite in the lineage, referring to those who straight away enter the Mahayana path without entering the Hinayana path. So their way of abandoning afflictive obscurations is like this. So that practitioner, when he or she reaches the Mahayana path of seeing, then he starts to abandon the imputed afflictive obscurations. So this is the same as, this assertion is same as the Hinayana path. And then when they reaches the path of Mahayana path of meditations, then they will abandon the 9 stages of innate afflictive obscurations. So there are 9 stages of innate afflictive obscurations, the great, medium, and small. So they will abandon these 9 stages of innate afflictive obscurations. So when that practitioner reaches the 8th ground, at the same time, they abandon afflictive obscurations. Yeah, so I repeat. So when they reaches the path of seeing, they start to abandon imputed afflictive obscurations. So when they reaches Mahayana path of meditation, they will abandon 9 stages of innate afflictive obscurations. So the 9 stages are great, medium, and small. And when they reaches 8th ground, when they reaches the Mahayana 8th ground, at the same time, they abandon afflictive obscurations. That's all. 就是这样子的。那说，哪里下面呗？写的比过来的是送给哪？写的，提前给咱们给写的帮当。당연히第三节吧，好吧？你第原理帮吧，不要了，你第一节了。
시디 보양 고가지 담보니 뒤방 차봐. 나 티지 담보니 때가 좀 나와 주는 대로 시디 여디 보 맞아봐도 시디 보양 고 좀 말해. 사 제바 커바다 딱 간다. 이제 토로. 나 지다 고다 자살에 왔을 때 시디스 와들라. 신디 총수. 신디 총수. 첨보들라. 나 신디 총수. 우리는 신디 총수. 정말 신디 총수 뭐로 와. 그것도 되어버렸잖아.
윤디 랭게 안 리바 고세 때 지바지가로.
니가 사제부터 니디 보면 지나는 거로. 왔다 사제부터 니디라. 안다. 체디 총수. 첨보라. 체디 총수. 우리는 체디 총수. 중국의 체디 총수. 지금도 와. 어디다 시우디. 다 되어버려. 나가서 사담보 비긴 탐나는 거나 사담보 비긴 탐마 거나 비긴 탐마 비긴 거나 와 비긴 탐마 거나 비긴거래 비 거나 받치면은 되게 가르는 놈이 지금에 이제 같은 거라서나 얘기 첨보들라 만다 진리 총수식으로 와 진리 총수 니디 첨보들라 와 니디 첨보 총수들 첨보들라야 비 첨보들라 잘하니시 잘하니 첨보들라 잘하니시는 잘하니시는 하나 플러스 좀 공을
Paraniore, initi,
Rapat Satan Bona,
Rapatis, Sa, Ambe,
Dipo,
Omlam,
Wadi,
Pachimela.
Satan Bon, yes,
Satambugi, Omlam, Pachimela.
Bona Pachimela Dish,
Pangiri,
Wadi, yes,
Rapati.
Oh, that's in the Buddha Yorua,
Mm.
that's in the Buddha, that's in the Buddha, Sanibani, that's anybody, Dimbi, but that's not a reader. That's a Dimbi, Chimbo, that's a river story. Sanibani, Chimbo, Chimbo, Bogua, the Simani, Chimbi, Shivani, Chimbichu.
Sasumane, because the Sanibala in the Chimbichimbu Ponga.
Sanibani, Chimbo,
Stambuina and Chimbichimbu.
The Tamil Chimbo, Aranisi, but that's the Tamil, even Chimbo, the Tamil,
Saniba and the Chimbichimbu Tamil.
Or Chimbichimbo, 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 Canada, Chimbichimbo, Tamil, oh, that's so many Chimbindi. Chimbindi. Shivani, you are in
So regarding the 9 stages of innate affective obscurations, so from the first ground to 7th ground, then they will abandon the great, medium, and small. So it's like this. When the first ground, the last moment of first ground, which is the uninterrupted path of meditation, and this uninterrupted path of meditation will abandon the afflictive obscurations, the great afflictive obscurations. Yeah. So, okay. So when we talk about this great, medium, and small, so referring to the afflictive obscurations, right? So how does these 3 becomes 9 is the great itself can be divided into great, medium, and small. So it becomes great, medium, great, small. Medium then also can be divided into 3, then medium, great, medium, small. Small again can be divided into 3, small, great, small, medium, small, right? So the last moment of first ground, so now we're talking about the first ground, because from the first ground to the 8th ground, they abandon the 9 stages of innate afflictive obscurations, right? So on the first ground, last moment of first ground, which is the uninterrupted path of meditation. So these will abandon the great afflictive obscurations. Great afflictive obscurations. And this, especially in this at this point of time, this great afflictive obscuration can be further divided into 2, coarse and subtle. So during the last moment of first ground, it abandons the coarse, great afflictive obscurations. Yeah, last moments of first ground, that is the uninterrupted path of meditation. It abandons the coarse, it abandons the coarse, great afflictive obscurations. Then, second ground, we start to abandon together with the subtle, great afflictive obscurations. As I mentioned just now, during on the first ground, great afflictive obscuration can be divided into coarse and subtle, right? So first ground, abandon the coarse, great afflictive obscurations. Then the second ground, he abandons together with the subtle, great afflictive obscurations. Then third ground, he abandons the great medium. Fourth ground, he abandons great small. Komlam baji mela.
Mutisha,
Mm.
Sadimba, Pachimela Tamudi, Pachimela Neo, Sadimba,
Mm.
Sadimba, the Pachimela Tamudi, and Dinchu, that is not Tamutisha.
So on the fifth ground, the undirected path, undirected path abandons the medium grade. So as I mentioned just now, the 9 stages, right? So after we abandon the grade, medium, grade, small, then now we go to the medium one. So medium again can be divided into 3, medium grade, medium, small. So on the fifth ground, undirected path abandons the medium grade. Sixth ground, abandon the medium. And seventh ground, there are 2 undirected paths. The first undirected path, abandon the medium small. I repeat, fifth ground, the undirected path abandons the medium grade. Sixth ground, abandon the medium. The undirected path abandons the medium. And seventh ground, there are 2 undirected paths. The first undirected path abandons the medium small.
That's Sadimba, Pachimela, Tanimba Jora, Piggy, was Japon. Mula Suyora, Chimula, Chimbo, the Chimusura, this was the younger one, that is Sadimba Kanachim.
Yamdu.
Oh, this one, no, this is number that on that person, and that person that initiated that she was also initiated. Or Munishi, the Montiamo. That didn't come at the Yesuda. Suyora, Chimula, Chimbo, Disuna, this is together for me. This that Jeba told that. Then you find the yes, I said Java. Nimba Chumati, Nimba again, Nimbi, Pachimela Niba Joa, Namajua, Tambo Pachimela Tishi. They just under Pachimela Gio.
Pachimela Niba.
Pachimela Niba again. That was not good, yes. Upon the start, Java could be that, and you can't upon that.
So on the seventh ground, there are 2 undirected paths, right? So the second undirected path abandons the small. The small, as I mentioned just now, the small can be divided into 3, right? Small, great, small, medium, and small. So these 3, all these 3 smalls, the smalls, small, great, small, medium, small. So all these 3 smalls are abandoned simultaneously by the second undirected path on the seventh ground. So after abandoning simultaneously the 3 smalls, the practitioner achieves the 8th ground. So when they achieve the 8th ground, they abandon all the at the same time they abandon all the afflictive obscurations.
Oh, did some jungle. There's a Java to the Tushin initiative of Mongoso. What's what the Mongo somewhere? That Java initiative of Java Goba, Juba Desogeta, and that she did by the planet. That she did bomb the data and the Tibetano, she did bomb the Sandy Batinari. What? She did bomb the Sandy Batinari. But the Nidi bomb the Sandy Batinata, Nidi bomb the Data Batinata, Company as in Image contra Nidi bomb the Data Batinari. Tichela Nidi bomb the Data Batinari, Nika Cheva Ship. Tichela, Amoni Shell in Nidi bomb the Sajaba Batinari. Tichili, Nidi bomb the Data Batinari. Data Batiji Data Batinari Sandy. What did it? That image consults show the Nidi bomb the Data Batinari Laura. What didn't you watch?
Chidi Pongwai na di sangi gobang to. Then on the 8th ground onwards, then the practitioners start to abandon obscurations to omniscience. So without if they do not first abandon afflictive obscurations, then they cannot start to abandon obscurations to omniscience. So after abandoning afflictive obscurations, they start to abandon obscurations to omniscience from 8th ground to 10th ground. So 8th ground, 9th ground, and 10th ground, they abandon obscurations to omniscience. So when the obscurations to omniscience are abandoned, they achieve the state of enlightenment at the same time. Yeah, when they abandon obscurations to omniscience, they achieve the state of enlightenment at the same time. So, in terms of Hinayana, so in Hinayana context, when they abandon afflictive obscurations, they achieve Hinayana arhatship at the same time, right? In Hinayana system. When they abandon afflictive obscurations, they achieve Hinayana arhatship at the same time. However, abandoning afflictive obscurations in Mahayana is not simultaneous with the achievement of Mahayana arhatship. It's not simultaneous, because in Mahayana system, when they abandon afflictive obscurations, they only reach earth ground, right? They haven't achieved the Mahayana arhatship, because Mahayana arhatship refers to the state of enlightenment. So teaching yeah. So they haven't achieved the Mahayana arhatship, because Mahayana arhatship and the state of enlightenment is the same. So when they abandon afflictive obscurations, they only reach the eighth ground. They haven't achieved the Mahayana arhatships or state of enlightenment.
当我跟先帝的了，跟大的人是什么嘛？跟大是你希望些，
先帝跟
大的人是你希望些有嘛，是吧？
嗯。
但先帝的大干的知道，那弟子嘛，到了上去，但是呢，应该上到了爬去，这个上去先帝了，看到肯定是为啥？先帝是全部的杀劫吧，也把你已经的杀过吧，因为的杀过吧，那都是人把你的杀劫，是吧？我们还是先帝了，跟大是要嘛，先帝了，跟大是。 那个人你的这个些分也几个咯，分也几嘛对嘛？给你了滚大是平流嘛，滚大的要吧，滚大是要的嘛，就波浪方向的嘛，都波浪方向去流的。但我是你的了滚大啥用吧？你的滚大你我这边同样过的，你的滚大方向是哪用吧？那的确呢，那个嘛，你其实了滚大是要嘛。
So when we talk about obscurations to omniscience, there is no such things as imputed obscurations to omniscience. There is only innate obscurations to omniscience. So there is no such thing as imputed obscurations to omniscience, because the imputed type is the object of abandonment by the path of seeing. So, however, in Mahayana systems, when we say at the time of path of seeing, they abandon afflictive obscurations, right? So there's no such things as imputed obscurations to omniscience. So some texts they explain these obscurations to omniscience and they divide it into three. Again, the great, medium, and small. So the great obscurations to omniscience is abandoned by the eighth ground, and medium obscurations of omniscience is abandoned by ninth ground, and the small obscurations of omniscience is abandoned by 10th ground.
That should be what to start about it. That tells the country someone that this someone delivery. Then you tell a community, you did Dutch in the combat to the Nidi Pontarwa. Then you did Dutch in the combat to the Nidi Pontar. That was the Bachambalala should go. That the Bachambalala, that the Bachambalala, someone report. Why that so? You're a resident that you're married. That's what you do. Why you're married. That's what you do. And you do Pontar. We are quoting back at the Tonala told the Jonala to Tona to the Tony. That they need to Tona, but we are told to get TV. You think that we are not Tona, but don't get the last. Oh, Achimela, none of us is very Yomana, the party.
Tonglamba.
I think that we are talking Tona, Achimela, the none of us Yoma. One of Achimela, none of us was Achimela taking needed to Nandula said the Pony Ponky.
Pachimela in the Pongi.
Pachimela, the name would think it.
Pachimela, the name would think
it. Nandula saw the name would think they are from it. Ponky. Ponky, the Chadgora. Ponky.
Namdulam.
Nandula Ponky. But this was that we hit the Sajeva Mother, but Pachimela,
Namdulam said, Ponky said the Atlantawa. How we make up the rock.
You put inside your own. What is it? 那萨当部呢，我就讲萨当部头了，萨当部光了把前面了就是吧，把前面了这个宁波的，对我是呢，说你的前的就是的，宁波的了，当然就是阿爸的那个结果是吧，那阿爸的，光了把前面的阿爸的宁波些，你的阿爸的西公司呢，三年把他妈拿到了就好嘛，三年把他妈都给拿到了，萨刚刚的他妈突然刚刚拿到了，关键
三年把几拿到了，
我三年把。Koma to nandula tigita bar ponwa bar ponsta nandula de ponke chima de nembo tenge dire ko hani ni do nyam
nembo tenge na nembo ji ba
nembo ni la ta ni de do lo ba chima de ni ro ngoni ngese ba chima la de ni nandula de ponke de ponke ni ta ni do ya 방법 이 방에서 되게 좀 앞으로 처음 서지서 좀 그러면 당장 돌고 공을 하고 나는 당장 나는 당장 그 나는 그러다 무슨 같이 나가라 이게 있는 뭐지 때 권한으로 있고
이제 라바뽕와당 산이바기 남조람 토바게 그냥
기본 것이 가서 그런 자들 정말 다 같이 같이 근데 이게 더 뭐야 그때부터 뭐라 하는데 플러스 제가 뭐 또 벌고 나눠라 같이 나가요.
산이마기 남조람 토바 당 사통보기 친구 라바 뽕와디
대통령 제가 원인 거지 기껏이 wala sa ni ba thoma na la chi kre somba thoma na la chi kre iba thoma na la chi kre na ba dimba
koma ki ba de nam do la
sama na la ta ja na do la ki po no ta pa no ji ding ne po cha ni mo chi no
sa chi me la ne di sa thong bo ki ki chi thama de he
chi no thoma yo la
ki chi thama de ro
thoma sa thong bo la he sa ni ba la pa chi me la yo ro sa ni ba thoma ba ki me la yo re sa thoma thoma ba chi me la yo re sa chi thoma ba chi me la 그 뻔을 제대로 되고 따라서 까지 이제 리바시나 자 담보 토마 나노라도 이 뻔을 제대로 쓰내고래 자 니바게 아마도 바치면 안 되고래 어디 들리시냐고 사 그래서 제일 상황이 나는 제일 나가 하는 치료로 와 어떻게 로지로 와 나한테 가서 더 봐야 돼 아 네트 다치고 보바터들이 페바치 몰라와 키를 제바바도 콜라 초다 세나사야마도 디가 뭐예요 봐
사기바바
사기바 못해 봐
얘들 봐도
얘들 봐서 그거야 얘들 봐야 될 줄을 지 요말 그래서 집어 못 봐도 그걸 아침에 나도 왔으니까 요 말했어
요말
요말 진짜 요가 아침에 나도 있어 아침에 되면 이제 나도 되게 좋아 요 말했어 그럼 세나사지 세나 당자서 그래서 어떻게 말해 이게 대자지 기지 봐야지 그래서 집어 터서 뜨거나 힘 봐고 저거다 좀 봐. 다좀 말해도 이게 좀 토사를 있는데 사진 거기 보고라 이거 좀 와. 어디냐 싶지. 그래 또 빨리 좀 또 내가 이나. 이제 좀 봐야 토사를 상지사 같이 보라 그래. 돌아 어디 야야 나와. 오늘 이제 봐요 말아. 이제 봐야면서 같이 만나서 요 말. 나도 나서.
So you might wonder if a hearer arhats, they have already abandoned afflictive obscurations in Hinayana system by the Hinayana path. So later when he or she enters the Mahayana path, so when he enters the Mahayana path, so what does this person abandons so when he or she is on the path of accumulation, path of preparation, first ground, up to and before eighth ground. So what does this person abandon when they are on these paths and on these grounds? So they do not abandon anything. So when they are on the path of accumulation, when they are on the path of preparation, when they are on the path of seeing the first ground, and then up to and before the eighth ground, there is nothing to abandon because they have already abandoned. So when they reaches the path of seeing, because they have already abandoned the afflictive obscurations. So what do they do when they are on the path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing up to and before the eighth ground? Is accumulate merits, accumulate collections of merit. So for what they accumulate merits? They accumulate merits for abandoning merits for abandoning obscurations to omniscience. Yeah, so because on the 8th ground onward, then 8th ground, and 9th ground, and 10th ground, then they will abandon obscurations to omniscience, right? So before grounds and paths, before that, they mainly accumulate collections of merit, then to abandon obscurations to omniscience. So because when we talk about such persons who has already come, so when we talk about curious arhat, when they enters the Mahayana path, so when they reach the path of seeing, then at the end, when they reach the path of seeing, the first ground, the last moment of it is a uninterrupted path, right? So this uninterrupted path is the direct antidote to abandon the respective obscurations. So the one who abandoned it is the path of release, path of release or liberated path. So like for example, the first ground, as I mentioned just now, the last moment of the first ground is the uninterrupted path, right? So this uninterrupted path abandons the coarse, great afflictive obscurations, right? So the abandonment of coarse, great afflictive obscurations and the achievement of a path of release on the second ground are simultaneous. I repeat. So when they are at the last moment of the first ground, which is the uninterrupted path. So this uninterrupted path abandons the coarse, great afflictive obscurations. So abandonment of coarse, great afflictive obscurations and the achievement of path of release on the second ground are simultaneous. So this is just a brief explanations on grounds and paths. So in the future, when we when we talk about these presentations of grounds and paths extensively, then we will talk about it again. So this is just a brief explanations on path and grounds only. This is not it takes a lot of time to explain it. So today is just a brief explanation.
That's
So yeah, again, that is in the sutra system. That is in the sutra.
What is?
Yeah. Question and answer. Yeah.
It's related to this, Kishila, if I can ask first. Kishila, in the lower tenet we study at Bashika, there's also a non-afflictive obscuration, which I wrote in the chat. Non-afflictive obscuration. When do the lower tenet Hinayana abandon this non-afflictive obscuration? Since you say that by arriving at 8th ground, they already achieved their own enlightenment called Hinayana Arahatship.
Islan tangin di salam gi namsha de do some de sung ba. Ini yang di woma chidama wa ina di nyomong jian ma yin be ti ba. Li yo ra. Di ba ina nyomong jing ti ban yun ji ra. Ini dia nyomong jian ma yin be ti ba yang yo res. Ini dia nyomong jian ma yin be ti ba di ba ya res.
Chidama kurang be da ba to ba.
Oh, anything.
You want to make it about the chat on Poka, circulation line. She begin a chat on Poka.
Shishingi cha.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, Poka. That kind of cheaper is one. But another Koran you want to debate upon. Which is upon us.
Chidama lula. Nyomong jing tiba tang, nyomong jing ma yin be tiba. Ini di nyomong je mai be tipa di
Nyumung je jai manga si shiji chata mo kawa. Manga pagite. Achante rangi kase.
amati yewa de.
Yewa wate. Ino pe ni jene. Ngai shi yurin batune pe ma ho watawa. Ho mutu watawa.
Ini di kasa di rajum bato be kapsu. Di nyomong je mai be tipa di ngiri.
Wata
Di kapsu ina.
Wata sina dati. Andi yana de. Tapanda pada pang ni mungkin mai di wata kata tahu. Karena ini cedok mereka cuma
Itu ini yang dipanggil. Ya jadi bato batang ini di yang dipanggil wah. Yeah, so regarding this, in Vaibhashika systems, when they achieve arhatship, then they abandon afflictive obscurations in general. So regarding when they abandon non-afflictive obscurations, this one I need to check.
Ken, maybe you can read the question from Oilun in the group chat.
Question is a solitary realizer foe destroyer has reached the path of no more learning in the lesser vehicle path. Ini di haji yang di kitab su ini di yang di pang nyomong jing di bati pang yore. Ini di nyomong jing main be bati di hamin yang di kitab su di pang yore aisne.
Ina kuya de nimbu to chikoba se mares. Chetawa se kipansa laです。
Yeah, so before I read the next questions, so regarding Dr. Go's questions about the non-afflictive obscurations, when to abandon it. So, yeah, so also you can refer to our own texts as well. So it mentions as well. So in Vaibhashika systems, so when person attain the nirvana with remainder, they abandon afflictive obscurations. So when they attain the nirvana without remainder, then they do not have the non-afflictive obscurations anymore. So they do not having the non-afflictive obscurations is not because of being abandoned by antidotes. Is because persons in the Vaibhashika systems, continuums has ceased or has cut or has ceased. Therefore, there is no more non-afflictive obscurations. So I repeat, in Vaibhashika systems, when a person attain nirvana with remainder, then they abandon afflictive obscurations. And when they attain the nirvana without remainder, they do not have the non-afflictive obscurations anymore. So this not having non-afflictive obscurations is not because of being abandoned by antidotes. It's because in Vaibhashika systems, they assert that when a person attain nirvana without remainder, their continuum has ceased. So because of their continuums being has ceased, then there is no more non-afflictive obscurations anymore.
你们就没有这个的，我写出来的，是的。
有吗？
那么你们就没有这个是呢？有些的概念这个，有些的中国人没写过，他能把一万看一万没写过，那么是提下来的，我们就没有这个的，没什么情况，可是嘛，只要我们提下来的话，
你别想能落了有呢？
真的我都提下来，真的像是，
所以哦，
实际那个你提下来的话，你们就没有，那当地这么多了，把它比的话。有梦见马英被击败的，他们就看吧了。写对不对？哦，写的是他们要嘛来。他写的啊，他就看吧，他就做。你们就没有击败的，可是学在的没什么解释，是吧？你们就没有击败说的那个，有几个没没写吧，有几新的个没写吧，然后这一万他一万没写吧是没写的，看到没写吧就可以加油啊。是的，鱼塘，有的鱼塘，搞吧，我的。capacity to 有新的人，他讲的新的高，新的高，有新的人哦，然后他要太吧，他买这个多了是吧？这里市场是就那什么没新吧？如果说有新度，但是那时候我们可是那时候大了就有新，我就没有这个的，什么我都记出来是那种，我们为什么解释？但是就把这个把这些这种写的是谈的强了嘛，是吧？写的谈的强，yeah。So previously, also when I talk about these non-afflictive obscurations, I also talk about let's say the ignorance of the object, ignorance of the time, ignorance of the 于图堂嘎巴的呗，嘎巴堂对，于图堂，对，yeah, and also the 团到一团的。yogi, at the you, right? Yeah, so ignorance of the object, ignorance of the time and etc. I listed about four ignorances. So these are non-afflictive obscurations, and these obscures one from attaining omniscience in Vaibhashika system. So they are not called obscurations to omniscience by Vaibhashika. So they only say that these non-afflictive obscurations obscures one from attaining omniscience. So as Kesha said, you can refer to your notes and then see. Yeah, so you check your notes, then you will saw this four. You will see these four ignorances or not knowing. Yeah. So
clarification, clarification. When Yeshua says the continuum has ceased, but I thought in meditative equipoise, the continuum is uninterrupted. So in that case, how can the continuum cease? That's my question. That's my query. Normally the continuum is uninterrupted, continuous in the meditative equipoise. So when you say continuum cease, I don't understand that.
你把云切下的了，是啦。你把云切下的空气就係那啲音下地比較，音把下比較啦。注意云下的，云人咧云下的呢啲切下有埋嘅。那這個嘛，差唔多。你只把云切嘅咯。這個有嘛咯？呢啲係。你咁樣就講得啊？都現在就係嘛？咁我可能就會差啲。第二把云切咯，第二把時間。Yeah, the mental continuum cease. Yeah, so it doesn't. Yeah, so so this is asserted by Vaibhashikas. So when I say continuum cease, right, it's a mental continuum. Sorry. So if I didn't say clearly, so it is a mental continuum ceases. So that is for Vaibhashika, when they attain nirvana without remainder, the mental continuum ceases.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Then the question. The question. solitary realizer, full destroyer has reached the. Oh, yeah, I read out the question.
It's another one. That's another one. You scroll up.
This is another. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. As Nirvana, right? As Nirvana with and without remainder refers to the same kinds of suchness. It seems different only in context of the hearer and solitary realizer, full destroyer, being in meditative equipoise or in a post-meditation state. Why there is a need to use different terms for the state of suchness? What is the remainder that is referred to in Nirvana with remainder? So there's one question here, and then the second question here. Okay. So the same kind of the same only in the context of the 당긴 사실 양대다 하면 양대디요로. 이니 개발이나 대지 냠자래 이니 지지로로. 이니 대 그래
맞아요.
땡겨. 이니 대한 개신이 있어야 돼요로. 이니 대 개신이 있어야 돼. 이니 대 하진 양대디지. 이니 냠자기 값수. 이니 대 하면 양대지. 이니 대한 제도의 값수. 이니 대 하진 양대지. 이니 대 가르치는 이니 대니 가르치는 대신이 있어야 돼요.
어디 대신이 된다 치바래. 아? 산주 대신이 있으면 어디서 돈이
가르치는 칸이 로가 대비주당 거래서 대신이 대지바 지강이 있네래. 양 얘네들 냠지지 개박이 왕기 이니 대한 하진 양대 인신다 직대 하면 양대 세요.
영샤게 내가 얘나 요 말이스. 그 얘나 매 와서다. 이 와서 하면 양대 샤고레스. 저기 예도지 내가 얘나한테 집어서다 내가 지는 하면 그래서 집어 되긴 나요.
아니 디 왕기 이니 조신이 있어야 돼.
하지는
하면 양대
집어.
이는 대 대신이 있어야 돼. 당 고된 있어야 돼. 당 아니 디 하면 양대 돼 세요로.
하면 양대 진짜 말이래. 이인이다 어디서 된다 집어래. 이인이다 어디서 이전 된다 집어래. 다 나샤게 내가 이인이데 내가 하지는 하면
대신이 돼요.
내가 이인이데 하지는. 어떻게 쉬워?
야니 대한 탄이 하지 당시다 지함에 니 대한 탄이 로가 배주당이 김전 대양 대낭 유메이 개발로.
이제 또 바로 냥샤 바로. 이 지시 쳐봐 쉬워. 강사 냥샤 배지시 나 이제 쉬워. 이 강사 제도 지시 나 쳐봐 쉬워. 간주얼이 어제다 하면 나한테 하면 나한테 쳐봐 줘 되지. 모두 된다 엄마 저기 정말 공부 지로 말하기 쉬워야 공부 양이는 게 많이. 하면 양이는 게 많이. 같이 나면 하면 나한테 쳐봐 줘야지. 동아리 공부다 다음을 하기 쉬워요.
지자인 공이 전이 대양 하화해야 되라. 하진 양대당 하면 하셔야 돼. 이니 다 세기 오래.
진짜는 소리가 그때 그 아주
하세.
대나라 집어서 하. 대나라 집으로 이게 시골이 하지는 그래서.
하셔야 되니 대낭 세기. 유메이 개발. Regarding these questions, as Nirvana with and without remainder refers to the same kind of suchness, they seem different only in the context of hearer and solitary realizers. Full destroyer being in meditative equipoise or in post-meditation state, right? And then why there is a need to use different terms for the state of suchness. So the state of suchness for meditative, there is a need to use different terms for the state of suchness because there is a difference in terms of the presence and absence of the appearance of true existence. So during the meditative equipoise, there is no appearance of true grasping, true existence. So there is no appearance of true existence. Therefore, it is called nirvana without remainder. And in post-meditation state, because it is with the appearance of true existence, therefore, another terms for it is called is used to call that state as nirvana with remainder. So the remainder it refers to the appearance of true existence. Yeah, so the remainder refers to the appearance of true existence. If it is with appearance of true existence, then a term is used for it is nirvana with remainder. So with remainder also means that with appearance of true existence. So with nirvana without remainder means that there is no appearance of true existence.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay. Good.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Would that be an advantage then for the meditator to die during the meditative state? For the solitary realizer or the hearer to die during the meditative state, because then it's a pure state of mind.
Die in the meditation state.
Yeah. Because that's a state when he doesn't have the appearance, true appearance, right? So,
yes. Yeah, ini tindi ina ini hangsa de nyam shaba de ini ande nyam ba shabi kabla tong nyam ba shabi kabla de shina yana chongna tagamen jo kan sina nyam ba shabi kabla ki 그래서 hangsa nyam shaba de yula de nang yo ma ro ini de nang maybe thone ini de chongna ini de yagamen jo
다 동전 지금 말이야 상지살로 왔어. 이 상지살에 너 왔어. 그래서
이 단대 이까지 대답디 상기 고관대 토와.
상지 고관 이제 다 좀. 그래서 단대 팀이 용 비시는 거라. 내가 다시 나셔 비시고. 다 동전은 어디 돼야 야 중도도 넘바샤니야 뭐 야 그래서 고마라 컨티가 넘바샤나 나셔는 거로. 이제 다 좀 되게 넘바샤 신경을 되게 받치려나야. 남자야 슈로 그리고 엄마야 슈로가는 가서 남자를 누가 싹 엄마도 엄마는 남자를 남자도 돈이야도 어디 돈도 그랬어
이게 디 람상데 총에 요마리 간신나 상게 이거 어디 단도 토요 말어
그래 근데 뭐 토고라 동시랑 가서 얼로 그래서는 그가
고바 조나 다고
남자가 야나 고마래 되게 막 남자 샤시면 말이야 근데 영셔는 야 대받치 못하는 거로
호라
그 상지 뭐 토요 말아 그 순자다야 야 그다 막 누가 있나 상지 있다냐 이래 앉아 놓고 그러와 요 놓으라
Yeah, so it's not better that way or it's not more beneficial that way because when the person is on the nirvana without remainder so we refer to the hearers and solitary realizers, full destroyers in meditative equipoise, right? So they haven't achieved the state of enlightenment. So it's not beneficial or not better for them to pass away in the meditation state because they haven't achieved the state of enlightenment. So even if they were to pass away in the meditation state, they still have to continue their path in next life, right? They still have to practice and then they still have to proceed to higher state in order to achieve the state of enlightenment. So instead of passing away in the meditation state, it would be better for them to transfer. So the word is almost similar in Tibetan. So transfer to next lives or transfer to higher states. So transfer to next life then has the meaning of pass away, right? So instead of being transferred to next lives, it's better for them to transfer to higher path until they reach the state of enlightenment in the meditations, in meditative equipoise. So they transfer to higher state in the state of meditative equipoise.
Yeah. 그 건데 다 보고 야야 놓고 와서 예 와서 내려라. 전주에 시우들 그 내려라. 아기가 방에서 제발 이거. 진영들 하면 제발 그 듣다 오면 냥디 시우들 누가 지금 뭘 한마다 자인이한테 누가 뭘 한마다 찍을 냥디 시우시고
오나 니라
오면 시우시고 아진영들 하면 냥디 제발 시우와. 아진영들 시우들 누가 뭐 한마다 찍을 냥디
중에 공간 여기
누가 뭐 한마다 찍을 누가 잡아다 시우고
중에 예 홍보대로 아마하라
그때 전도한테 말했어. 남자 유독이 시고 그랬어.
So when we talk about nirvana without remainder and nirvana with remainder, it is asserted differently by different schools. So when it is asserted by lower schools, they assert that with or without remainder is whether the person still has the aggregates that is propelled by the 동의기 풍보
한마다 참아라.
동의기 풍보 당담하다. Yeah, whether whether one has freed from the suffering bodies, suffering aggregates or not. So this is, if is freed, then it becomes nirvana without remainder. It is not free yet from the suffering aggregates, then it's called nirvana with remainder. However, the assertions of nirvana with or without remainder is asserted differently by Prasangika, as we as you see in the text. Yeah. Yeah, so for Prasangika, they assert the hearers and solitary realizers fall destroyed in meditative equipoise, then that suchness is a nirvana without remainder. And the same kind of suchness in the continuance of hearers and solitary realizers in the post-meditation state. So in the post-meditation state, the same kind of suchness is called nirvana with remainder. So this is such differently from other schools. Oh, yeah. So this talks about the difference between nirvana without remainder and nirvana with remainder. Yeah. So in a very short, nirvana in meditative equipoise is nirvana without remainder. Nirvana in post-meditation state is nirvana with remainder. Yeah. So this is the short way to understand the difference between nirvana without remainder and nirvana with remainder. So it doesn't talk about whether one has freed from the suffering aggregates or not. Next question is, a solitary realizer foe destroyer has reached the path of no more learning in the lesser vehicle path. In the Mahayana system, when would the stage of foe destroyer be active? So you mean when this foe destroyer enter the Mahayana path, which point does this foe destroyer enter, right? Is that your question?
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, ini kasa teming lam grotsawa niên thứ trái trong bài nào đã rằng cái trái trong bài nào đó ini ande teming milolam de thosawa thì teming teaching lam là chủ tính format chủ sa de courageous
nó tổng có ninja trong cái chuyện của nó
format chủ sa de
cái chuyện này là cái chuyện này của nó là machine là tổng có cái chuyện reset 서 가지고 reset 서 ninja trong cái chuyện 당보배
teaching reset
기지 reset 그 지금 reset서 당보 ninja 좀 ninja 좀 지라 전에 자주 쓰는 제거와 이제 소원 주바로 자주 쓰는 더 nhiều 이제 소원 더 자주 쓰는 더 nhiều
ninja 좀 뭐지 교라기네
reset와 reset라 그거지 그 대박도 뭐 아무 소리 소원 더 이게 전화도 받았다 자주 쓰는 줄을 nhiều 자고 들어와
제주 있으면 뭐지가
아니 이제 저 앉아서 똑같이 뭐라고 쉬어라 도마가 넘쳐디 이제라 간다 인지 좀 지라 지야 그래서 저
초람데 마중을라 마중을라 아니 대한 이제게
리셋 똑같이 뭐 리셋들이 올라와요
제주 있으면 가자 가두기 바디 내 초람 주가 주야게
자주 쓰까지 제발 통화서 못이나
that's all. Yeah. So a solitary realizer foe destroyer, when they have reached the path of normal learning in the lesser vehicle path, then before they enter the Mahayana system or before they enter the Mahayana path, they first has to awaken the Mahayana lineage. The Mahayana lineage refers to the great compassions. So they have to generate in their minds, in their continuum, the great compassions. Then whenever the bodhicitta, generates in their mind, simultaneously they enter the path of accumulation of Mahayana, path of accumulation. Whenever bodhicitta generates in their mind stream, at the same time they enter the Mahayana path of accumulation. So that is the first point, they enter the Mahayana path. Yeah, so generations of bodhicitta in the continuum and attainment of path of Mahayana path of accumulation are simultaneous.
If someone is in the Mahayana path from the beginning, would they ever become a full destroyer? You use a term of somebody who's joined the Mahayana path directly.
Arhat, right? You mean?
The word full destroyer, yeah.
Full destroyer is also called Arhat.
Also called Arhat. So you
Yeah, the teaching is Lamina, the teaching is Jingenam. Teaching is Jingenamina, the teaching is Madhyamaka to Ares.
That's the Madhyamaka Shidi Mama Kurlaiba.
The Sangi Gopang Deva.
Oh, teaching Madhyamaka Shidi Mama Bakaya, Sangi Mama.
Jizan is Sangi Gopang Pobatang, Shidi Pobatang, and the teaching is Madhyamaka. Yeah, so a full destroyer is also called Arhat. So when a person, those who are definite in the Mahayana lineage, refers to those who straight away enter the Mahayana path, right, without going through the lesser vehicle path or Hinayana path. Yeah, so when those who are definite in the Mahayana lineage, so when they achieve the full Mahayana full destroyer or Mahayana Arhat, and at the same time they achieve the state of enlightenment, and at the same time they abandon aspirations to omniscience. So in Mahayana system, Mahayana full destroyer or Mahayana Arhat also refers to the state of enlightenment. And it is simultaneous. It happens simultaneously with the obscuration, abandonment of obscurations to omniscience.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, so, and any more questions?
William Liu.
William Liu, okay. So I continue. Continuum cease means that, is this the answer? I mean, kind of like a sharing of your thoughts. Oh, okay. Yeah. The Rebak Yunchi at the Chivi Tenaro. Yeah, so in the Vaibhashika system, Meva Chaya. Meva Chaya said any Kansa de Meva Chaya. Yomari. Yeah. So in Vaibhashika systems, a mental continuum cease means death, also means that becomes non-existent. Yeah, there is in Vaibhashika's assertions. I assume no more question.
Actually, I was just thinking that for Hinayana, in the Prasangika Madhyamaka system, the Hinayana and Hira is solitary realizer who have realized emptiness, which is the same emptiness as what Bodhisattva realized. In order to achieve omniscient state of Buddhahood, they re-enter into a path of accumulation after generating compassion. Then they go through the 5 paths similarly, but since they have already realized the same emptiness as those Bodhisattva who have not achieved the 10th ground, where the time taken, 3 countless eons taken by Bodhisattva, where the time taken by Hinayana who has achieved Arahatship re-enter the path of accumulation will be shorter.
So each time that they teaching the lamina the Chahimudu, neither the teaching is Jingenam Benachashan. The teaching is Jingenam, the Sangyala, the Kaba Kamisum, the son of the Saurwa. Any the Benachashana, Yang Kansaji, as at the Temingi Lamgi, Rajumba de Tobare. Rajumba de Tomni, any day teaching Lamla Shuje. ini yang di sangi goman te thoma de yang ko ro ini yang di kashin thame sum de di yang huai na de mingi lam tuo cha ba tang ini de je la de shin
정말 정말 하는 같이 담에서 소조니 가서 같이 지로 마다사 딩이 같이 지 사라사 딩
마다 세
사디 담보니 가 딩바
사 뭐 들어가
딩바 같이 봐 타바서도 같이 스마트
야 개바 주바 봐도
딩바 같이 봤어 같이 스마트 와 이번에서 코테네 디다가 봐야 슈나 테바체 몰라야 슈나 테바체 뭐 하는 도와이나 같이 소로 딩도 왔어
ini di pronunciation di yang di chang kaza di kama pachin thami sum le ma wa ro mai di mingi lam di nyam ni chebe ka ba ni di yang su de ko wa ro
이제 뭐 테바체 담보니 농에 디와 양에 정보를 세 가지가 제도 안에 대적으로 정세 오빠 쇼다우라
mingi lam le ji ma shu ni ini yang kama thami sum lo bian so na sa ko ni ji da ni dia di kong chu kaza di kaza对那点猫啊狗狗，其实猫啊狗有咯。
我这些猫我们的人把这不是事。对，我这开始现在了，希望怎么了？怎么恐怕拖动人呢？怎么恐怕拖了怕？那把这马鸟了这样的，你告诉了啥个意思？你马是鸟了这样马上，然后这把怎么让需要个开始这里？怎么恐怕拖那个把毛毛去养下山比较好的话，你马用来切的。야주 최시만 야주 공부하다가 하고는 마토바 전에 네 냐와라 마치에 내 강소는 싸네现在 야주 공부하다가 하고는 이 마토바지 강소는 마냐와라 제 지금 뭐 디바타 다시 냐와라 마치에 그래서 디바치 모양을 당来 说的 이 강소 체바지 좀 노래서 니들 야주 내가 야주 마토바이나 냠샤 내가 찾는 까봐 뭐 냠마 시대 저거 디바치 나한테 리포트 하는 저도 내가 가고 있네
Yes, sir. Yeah, so those who have gone through the Hinayana path and then later they enter the Mahayana path, then they achieve the state of enlightenment, right? So the time for them, the time it takes them to achieve enlightenment is longer than those who are definite in the Mahayana lineage, because they spend time in practicing and achieving the Hinayana arahantship, right? Hinayana arahatships, and later they enter the Mahayana. Then, when they enter the Mahayana path, they still have to accumulate the three colors, the merits of three colors eons. Then, only then they achieve the state of enlightenment. So, the time will only be longer; it will not be shorter. So, and when they, when a hearer is a solitary realizes full destroyer of arhat, enter Mahayana path, they still have to go through the three colors eons. They accumulate the merits of the first colors eon when they are on the path of accumulation and preparation, and when they are on the first ground to seventh ground, they accumulate merits of the second colors eon, and then when they are on the 8th and 10th ground, they accumulate merits of the third colors eon. So previously, I also mentioned something which is related to this as well. So some when some practitioners, when they know that in that life they are going to achieve a Hinayana arhat. So in that life, they know that they are going to achieve Hinayana arhat. So however, they also know that if they achieve Hinayana arhat in that life, they will stay in meditative equipoise for eons. That will lengthen their time to achieve the state of enlightenment, because they will stay in meditative equipoise for eons time, right? For eons. So their achievements of enlightenment also delay by eons. So they know that they are going to achieve enlightenment. Hinayana arhatship in their lifetime. So they don't want to continue their practice, and then they purposely accumulate negative karma to be born in hell. Then when when the negativities cease by experiencing sufferings in the hell realms, when they reborn, then they straight away enter the Mahayana path. satu de stage la ni de teaching ki lam shkyo. So they are special beings who practice in this way.
Then that's very dangerous if we accidentally enter the Hinayana path. May I know at what stage in the path is reversible? I can come back and re-enter the Mahayana path. By part of seeing is too late, because after part of seeing your the highway, you must go to that Hinayana. You cannot change path, isn't it? So I want to understand before entering, at what stage of the 5 path that we can still reverse back and restart the Mahayana path.
Sure. Restart, okay, yeah. So ini di kata lam nga nang lo la, ini di thong lam di thoi na, ti ming gi thong lam di thoi na, ini yang di lang bo kata kyok lam jaw lo, ini yang satu ini di ti ming gi jajong ba di tu di kyok di tu are sa, ini di cisa ini di lam nga nang lo la, yang thong lam kata di bom lam patu, ini di tandu kata di kisla di kansa kiwa jen den zo yang gang zu ne le zi cham xia jie gong lam ma ri
你对你妈妈修车的修的是说在从小这个修的这的了是不是一定这就不恐怕这样挺需要的修了吧
啊其实你的通lam gap sui na
通lam多sana 너무 많게 받게 뭐야
其实你的九lam gap sui na
예 너나 전혀 내가
초준이 gap sui
전혀 내가 그냥
你的这里你的这边也大家嘛的Buddhist, ini di hago ni, ini di kangju sa.
Ampunnya tu sih kita pandai cincin aku. Ampunnya aku kita cuma lah madu baca, jadi madu yang cincin tu ni kita sah. Ampunnya tiba cuma lah kadung dua sama orang. Jadi nanti je thong orang dua tadi nanti nanti je lah thaj ho cara nanti nunggu mana. Ini kita cuma cuma thua nunggu.
Thong lam di tuai na di piche yang.
Baca nunggu mana, nunggu mana.
Yeah. So when those beings who know that they are about to attain the Hinayana Arhat in that life, when they are still on the path of accumulation and path of preparation. So when they are still on these two paths, then these special beings, if they know that they are going to achieve Hinayana Arhatship in that lifetime, then they will stop. Then they accumulate a negative karma, born in hell, then negative karma cease, come back, and then they straight away enter Mahayana path. So, however, it is difficult for those who have reached the path of Hinayana path of seeing. So once they reach the Hinayana path of seeing, then most probably they will straight away go to the Hinayana Arhatship already. Yeah. However, I mean, in general, when we say when chief the hearers and solitary realizers Arhatship actually is quite happy. Yeah, it's a state of happy. It's a happy state. Yeah, it's a happy state because one has already freed from samsara. So, however, in considerations of accomplishing others' purpose extensively without entering a Mahayana path, then one cannot do that. One is unable to do that. Nimanyi na lo la yang jiwa mampu sayo na ini di junha jima gi sami ma ini di yang jiwa jilen jibo de shari. Yeah, so if you have any more questions, then I believe Sally has already told you maybe. Then yeah, Sally probably has told you that I'll say in the next 2 days, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, Thursday.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, so Wednesday and Thursday. So if you have any questions, then you can submit your question. And if if we have many questions, then next Tuesday we will allocate the question and answer for Tenets class. Yeah. So if you do not have many questions, then next Tuesday. So probably the first hour. we will allocate for question and answer. Then the second hour, I will start lumbering.
Okay, thank you. That is how it is.
Yeah, so yeah.
That gives on the what you want to do, what you want to do, what you do, the massage, rather than cutting up you do the amount of some want to near you do that. Then only you do the what you never mind, but want to near over. Then deep on you, that is forget away.
We conclude with dedications. We dedicate the roots of virtue to the flourishing of the Dharma and also to the excellent happiness of all sentient beings. We also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teachings, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to live eons long with excellent health, and may all their holy wishes and enlightened activities be accomplished instantaneously and be spread in all directions. We also specifically dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved teacher, Gyaltsen Lama Zopa Rinpoche, endowed with great kindness. May Rinpoche's holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously, and may the unmistaken reincarnations of Rinpoche be swiftly returned and continue to turn the wheel of Dharma for the sake of teachings of sentient beings, so that we will have the opportunity to receive the precious teachings from you again, Rinpoche. Then we also dedicate these roots of virtue to the world peace, and may excellent happiness prevail in the world. May wars and conflicts that happen nowadays between countries, and pandemic, and disaster and natural disaster be pacified immediately. Zabe Gewa de Tendang Joa Kuna Kambe Nang Keba Jizun Lozang Java Iteme Nimbo Rendo Seje Jo Chamchu Senjo Rimbo Jema Kepa Nang Kikuji Kepa Nyamba Mebaya Kondo Mewa Jo Tabe Pujida Kemba Dang Kundo Sambo De Ande Jinde Deda Kuki Jesu Dalo Jekewa Deda Dang Jerabdu Ngo Awa Rimbo Jema Kepa Nang Kikuji Kepa Nyamba Mebaya Kone Kondo Mewa Jo Rimni Tawa Rimbo Jema Kepa Nang Kikuji Nyamba Meba Yang Kone Kondo Mewa Jo Tongi Ningje Sundu Jube Lan Cheche Sese Kanchen Jen Du Gen Chana Premo Tenzin Gazo La Soa Teso Shen De Le Jo Jo Nade Pende Ma Du Ba Kale Jungwe Sampe Ye Shino Kaden Sume Tenzin Gazo La Soa Teso Tu Shen Le Jo Jo Me De Ma Yang Zolo Sang Kya Wa Yav Se Kyu Ba Je Rang Shan Shiki Kya Yu Ma Du Pe Tene Me Ma Jube Ke Le So Yung Su Su Pe Tu Ten Rinpo Je Jube Zin Pe Wa La Na Yang Pi Shun Su Pe Ko Cha Zin Zume Jetsun Lama Sowa De Manu Juwe Ko Je Po Ge We De Dama Kyu Jowa Yi De La Ji Tu Zu Pa Se Be Mu Lo Po Shi Wa Shi Te Yi Re Ba Na Ju Sun Kya So Jin La Dang Ke Se Na Ki Tu Ke La Po Je Lu Me Te Pe Yang Tu Sa Pe Zun Ke Sa Tu Je Pe Tu Nyu Xie Shuo We Ko We Shin Gang De Pen Dang De Wang Ma Lu Jun We Ne Chen Re Se Wang Ten Zi Kya Zo Ye Xia Pe Si Te Pa Tu Thank you.